What's up, guys? Welcome to another afternoon home theater hangout. Today, we're going to start something. We're going to try to start something once a month, make it a monthly thing. We're going to call it the monthly movie recap with Kaleidoscape and yours truly, and also Dream Media. Zach is representing
Woo!
Dream Media today.
Let's go!
So, basically, what we're going to do is just go over the month's past releases that have released on the Kscape. So you guys can use this as kind of, if you guys are not Kaleidoscape owners, you are disc owners or physical media collectors, you can use this as like a preamble to what to expect when things are coming out on your physical media for your future collections. Or if you are a Kaleidoscape owner, then just know that these are going to be our top picks for, future purchases on the Kaleidoscape. And we've got Luke here, who is the content curator, right?
I'm the director of content
Okay.
operations is the term that they've given me. I'm in charge of making sure that we get the movies we need to get in front of all of our customers.
That's right. All right. So he watches, I'm sure, as many movies as I do per month. But today we're going to start off with what I think was one of the big releases for this month. Also, a big release. Supposedly, it was supposed to be a big release at the theaters. Was this little film right here, Fall Guy. This is actually a kind of a large file as well. This comes in, it clocks in at 71 gigs.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I do believe it kind of bombed at the box office, or
it
just didn't
did.
perform as well
It
as
did
it.
not meet expectations, and I think
Yeah.
there's you can see there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking. I think I've read a couple of folks that said, "Hey, this is just a date issue. If this movie comes out in late June or late July, totally different box office experience."
Yeah.
Some people think there's a personality saturation point that people run into, but for whatever reason, a lot of people didn't end up going to see it. But the delight of this film is
Hmm.
that I still haven't found anybody that watched it that didn't have a good times. So
Yeah.
this is not like a market alienation thing where it's like they got a bunch of stars and they put them in a movie and the movie sucked. Right? We've all I will not name any names, but we've all seen that before where they're like, "Oh my goodness, they put all these stars in this movie and that's what I got 2 hours of my life for." There's a movie
Yeah.
everybody that I know that's come away from it's been like, "Yeah, that was like really fun." Like I don't know, I kept hearing bad things, but like why? I don't know why. Like I
Hmm.
ate all my popcorn. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. This is a really fun movie. Sadly, I saw it like, I want to say like 3 weeks, and then it popped up on the Kaleidoscape, and I was like, oh my god! I was like, this movie was actually really good. I'm surprised nobody went to see it. I went with the wife because the wife, this is kind of aimed towards date movie ish type of thing.
Yep.
But there was a lot of action in it from start to finish. A lot of great stunts actually. I gave my ratings for the audio and the picture quality, and I don't remember what it was, but I know this is pretty solid picture quality. I mean, nice vibrant colors. So if you guys got your OLEDs or your 100-inch high senses, it's gonna look great on those displays. Unfortunately, I felt like the audio was lacking for such a big budget Hollywood flick.
Yeah, and it's funny. I saw it, but I saw it in a very flat like soundbar system theater. I didn't get to see this in one of my big theater in the one of the big theater spaces that I get to watch it. So for
Yeah.
me, I didn't pick up on any of the deflation I think that you ran into, and it was surprising to me to hear because Will David Leitch, who directed this movie, is the same guy. This is the guy that did John Wick.
Yeah.
This is the
John
guy
Wick.
that did Atomic Blonde. So he's got a history of movies that I know both look good and usually sound pretty great
Yeah.
when they come into the mixes. So that was surprising to me to see that you would have that in your review that it didn't get as much punch as you would have liked it to have.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the surround effects in general. I mean, there's a couple of nice spots here and there, but it was just like, man, I thought there would have just been a lot more because,
Mm.
it's a movie about big action stunts. Like, why wasn't I getting blown away by all these special effects?
And
Audibly.
the stunts are good. I mean, visually for stunts, like this is a stuntman's love letter in a lot of ways as a film. So watching the 8 barrel rolls in a row, absolutely delightful. And when they set up the action set piece to be the big closer, man, like they had guys doing real big practical stunts that it made you sit up in your chair and jump and pay attention to the screen.
Yeah, but I would definitely listen if you guys are on the fence of whether or not you want to pick this up on a Kaleidoscape. I say go for it. I think it's a very enjoyable movie. I've seen it twice already, once at the theater, once at the house. I'm sure I'm going to watch it again with the wife at some point in time. And there's still some pretty good scenes in there which you can use to demo off your home theater for sure, and great action set pieces as well. So definitely worth a pickup. And since I bought it, the price I don't think was on there. I think it was like $25.
Yeah, I think that's what we're running. I think that's what that one's coming in at. It's an NBCU title.
Yeah, so I mean $25. That's a killer price. We're not talking $40 like a Warner Brothers movie. Like let's good segue to that one. This right here. This is the other huge release that came out this month, which is $40. This is Godzilla X Kong. Huge release. I saw this at the theater in 3D, actually. 3D and 2D. So unfortunately, I sat through it twice. The 3D was okay.
Yeah. But here's another movie. Like I never feel cheated on a Saturday watching a Godzilla King Kong movie. Like they certainly had. Was I as interested in the story this time as I was for the last film? No, not particularly. I think they got a good cast, a lot of really interesting detail that they ran through. I don't know that I'm as invested in the MonsterVerse as I am in some of the other universes that are there, but they still really pulled out all the stops at the big set pieces that came in the same way that we had, the destruction of Tokyo in the previous film, which was like a neon day glow dream, which was beautiful to watch. I feel like all of this movie, which had some peaks and valleys, the Rio set piece at the end is extraordinary.
Yeah,
really, it's where everything comes together. It's where the audio pops hardest, and it's where the visuals really kind of stand out. Does it have the energy of manga come to life in a lot of scenes? Yeah, I think that's certainly part of the style that Wingard's driving everything towards here.
Yeah, I mean, stylistically, visually, yeah, it's right, still right there with Godzilla vs. Kong, the last one. I do think the CG probably a little bit better in the last one. For me personally, that's what I thought. This one, I mean, coming from the original, what is it, 2014-15 Godzilla, and then Skull Island, where it's kind of based more on reality. Starting with the last one, they definitely kind of jumped into more of a cartoony aspect to it.
Yeah. I think anytime you're going to start to have, like, they had the monsters in really relation to nature more in the first two films. It was much more set with them as wild creatures. And in the next, as soon as you're going to have the monsters fight, as soon as you've strapped one onto an aircraft carrier, you've changed the rules of engagement on yourself.
Yeah, but that was a cool scene though. That's still a demo scene for many 100%. Home theater enthusiasts. Yeah,
100%.
And it delivered on the audio side. Whereas Godzilla X Kong, the bass was a little bit lacking too. The Atmos heights were kind of lacking. Okay. I was like, wow. I was like, so weird. It's a step down from Godzilla vs. Kong. I was very surprised in that. And I know Haterade is here, Jordan, who also, I believe, reviewed on the Kaleidoscape. And we both discussed it before we dropped our reviews. And we both kind of said the same thing. It was like, oh, what's going on here with the audio? Like, this should have been a demo track for sure. I mean, it looks great visually, but the audio, still, I don't know what happened. Warner Brothers usually always delivers on their Atmos mixes. So this one was kind of let down on this one. This is the first one in the Monster franchise that I felt was not as good as the previous 4 or 5.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was on par with the first big Godzilla piece to me, which I think maybe didn't have the same channel height, but it has more, for me in demo purposes, it's just got more scenes with immediacy and pop. It's got more things that are immediately going to draw somebody in, drag them visually, and get them into and out of a big action beat, which I think is one of the things that people are always looking for when they're trying to get that little showcase moment together for their theater.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to show off your home theater, your projector, your OLED, whatever it is, this has got all the HDR color and pop for sure. So So for that alone, I would recommend it for the audio enthusiasts out there. Probably not the strongest title that we're going to talk about today,
Yeah.
or in the Monster Verse. I'm sure they're going to make another one. As far as enjoyability, not my type of Godzilla vs Kong type of movie. I'm more of the Kong Skull Island kind of guy, or King of the Monsters person. But I know a lot of people like these movies. They're fun movies for, fun movies, I guess. And that's definitely what you get. More of what you got in Godzilla vs Kong, just amped up like twice as much, I think.
Right. And new monsters, which is, that's what they're always trying to do. Can I get a new bad guy? When's my Mothra going to descend upon the city to put everybody at terrible risk?
What I thought was funny is like Mothra made a big appearance in Godzilla vs or King of the Monsters, but then they were like, we got Mothra in this movie, and it's like the first appearance. Where I was like, yo, didn't we already see Mothra? It's not like a special, like we've seen it already. Why are you making such a big deal of it?
It's the sequel's principle of more. Sequels always have to have everything we had, and then more, and then more, and then eventually things collapse, and you go and strip everything back and get something that's a little bit more toned down for the next sequel that you do. I don't think we're there yet. I think the next sequel will be even bigger, and then we might get something more stripped down for the following picture.
Yeah. Speaking of Godzilla, the other big Godzilla movie that I haven't seen, released either digitally or in physical media or in the Kaleidoscape, is Godzilla Minus One. When could we expect that on the Kaleidoscape, if ever?
That's a wonderful question. So Godzilla Minus One is owned by Toho, and they're a Japanese company, and they don't have a regular simple distribution path that comes directly into the US, so they make an individual deal every time they come through. I haven't seen an announcement in the trades about where that one's coming. I'm hopeful that it's going to come through one of the many partner channels that we have set up that's going to allow us to actually get things in place, but I don't have any announcement on that one yet.
No. Fortunately for you guys, I did do a physical media release or a review on that one that I bought from eBay. So if you guys want to check out that review, it's on the channel.
What'd you think? Awesome. What was generally you were a big fan? It won. It snuck away with that Oscar, which I thought was I always give the big kudos every time I want more good movies to be made, even if for whatever reason we can't get them on our platform. I want to see them out there because I know those directors and those filmmakers are eventually going to make another picture that's going to come and get into our vein. And I just want more goodness to kind of directly get shot into us so everybody can see and enjoy movies more often.
Yeah, so for a $15 million movie compared to the like 185 or whatever it was for GXK, I think that this one blew it away. Just from a realistic standpoint, I thought the CG was better. A couple of parts were a little bit choppy when he was walking down the streets. He kind of looked like RoboCop, but other than that, it was really grounded in reality, as real as you could possibly get. It definitely harkens back to the older Godzilla movies that we saw as a kid, just amped up for the CG and the atomic breath. Way better than what we got in any recent American Godzilla movies. I mean, like I said in the review, Oppenheimer, look out. Like, this is how you do an atomic explosion. Do it the Godzilla way. I know Christopher Nolan is like bougie with his, practical effects, but man,
right.
Yeah, this explosion in Godzilla Minus One, that's the winner. That's why I won the Oscar for Best VFX last year.
Yeah, well, it's the less is more principle in effect there, right? I mean, there's not 100 different effects that they were trying to do. They didn't have an underworld kingdom of monkeys that they needed to support with their VFX team. They really just had one big monster and one big crazy thing that he did, and that helps clarify, gives you a good path to something beautiful.
Yeah, just so you guys know, it's not like an action movie. It's more like a drama with Godzilla in it. Gets a little bit emotional towards, during the course of the movie as well, which I was not expecting. I was like, usually if I got to read a movie, I'm like, oh, geez, I'm going to read this whole time. But I was reading it. I enjoyed it. Tugged on the heartstrings a little bit. And then, of course, Godzilla just rounds it off with the action. So, best Godzilla movie I think I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it's a smart film. I love that.
But the next big release came out this past month is this guy here. This is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Ghostbusters.
So this comes in at 60 gigs, 60.4 gigs. And before we move on, why is the regular non-HDR version bigger than the HDR10 version?
It's just there's no strict rhyme or reason. There's slightly different encoding processes that it goes through,
Okay.
so there's some small degree of variability that you might actually see end up landing between the two different versions. But that's it. That's all that it comes down to. It doesn't have a real strong, distinct impact on what the endpoint image looks like.
Is it a different codec, or are you guys doing the same codec, or how's?
It's a slightly different set of parameters on the codec that actually ends up getting put through. And then,
Gotcha.
you actually, I think you had a question from one of your other folks. They did ask, why is the Fall Guy so huge in its HD version?
Yeah.
The HD version contains the director's cut version of the Fall Guy, which is included in your purchase. So
Oh,
it's a
I didn't know
whole
that.
other version of the Fall Guy that's included. That they decided to just release it as an HD version with some extended tricked out scenes that came through. But that's why file size is so much larger on that particular title.
Is that I've noticed that in a couple of other 4K versus 1080p ones where it's like almost double the size, but I'm assuming that's like extras or something.
I think almost always it's going to be because there's a large extras package, which is involved with something like Last Jedi immediately comes to mind. That has a full other version of the movie with a director's commentary track married to it
Okay.
that's in place. So that's you're going to have your regular film size doubled up so that we can have that. Plus, then because it's a Star Wars film, huge roll sheet of extras that they also include.
Now, if you were to buy the Last Jedi in 4K, do you also get that version as well? Can I
Hundred
watch that?
percent. It's all the way down. So if you buy 4K, you get all 4K versions that we have, HDR or SDR. That's just you figuring out the version that's right for your display, and then everything below it is also available to you, an HD version, an SD version, whatever we might have available.
Nice. Okay. Well, I guess that's a question that pops up quite often, actually, but now we know the answer.
That's it.
All right, so let's go on to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This is another movie that I watched, and about 3 weeks later, it popped up on Kaleidoscape. 60 gig file, 60.4 gigs, and this is very much like the last Ghostbusters Aftermath. Still with the kids. I think there's more kids this time around, at least one or two more.
Oh yeah.
And fun. I thought it was a fun movie, fun, charming movie. I thought I just thought the ending didn't quite hit. I think it kind of tried to go back. You know how in the original Ghostbusters, where everybody exited the firehouse or wherever they were, like all of New York came and they were like cheering on the Ghostbusters. Like they tried to recreate that at the end of this one, but it just felt a smaller scale. This has nothing to do with the transfer or anything, but just the movie itself. But that's just one thing that I felt when I saw it at the theater. I was just like, yo, you guys are just trying to recapture that original Ghostbusters feel, but you're kind of missing the mark here on that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. They were doing a lot. There's a lot of stars in this movie, so there's a lot of stars that have to be served, and there's a lot of nostalgia that has to be catered to in order to get sort of what they're pulling in, because it is one of those great movies that's bringing you back to the energy of a movie that you loved when you were growing up. But that takes screen time, and so it ends up being a lot of items that are kind of crowded together and have to get stacked in as they come in. Thought that most of the through lines were really good. I thought the effects were nice.
Yeah.
I love to see New York frozen over. I've lived that. I had to move a U-Haul van in the middle of a snowstorm in New York, so this was like so triggering to me. Pulled me right back to that particular time and place.
Yeah, the special effects and all that look great. I really like the look of the bad guy. I don't know what his name
Mm,
was, but there were some shots where he actually did kind of look, like a real, maybe like feel like a real prop or something like that. Like it was that crispy and clean.
truly creepy.
And yeah, and visually, if you like, Afterlife, then you're gonna definitely like this one for sure. The audio, I mean, I feel like I'm saying this And like most of the reviews, like the audio was okay. I felt like there should have been more activity above my head because there was a lot of stuff like that ghost dragon or whatever was kind of flying through the streets, and I was like,
Sure.
oh, this should sound cool. But I think I only heard him one time flew above my head, even though he was on screen for like 30 minutes. Like stuff like that, I was just like, man, why isn't this not better? It still
It's
had
not.
some pretty good action, sound effects in it for sure. But just Atmos is kind of lacking lately. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, they do still do a good job, I think, with the sparkling surround effects to the Ghostbusters weapons, which I like. That's something I'm always paying
Yeah,
attention to as they're doing the movies, and they're also doing a good job. Because I mean, I go back and I look at the original Ghostbusters films, which I think they did a really nice job on the restoration of. They're truly grainy, but they are still nice prints as they go back, and it's so eye popping. Like the SFX is so big and static, and it's so naturally integrated now in this sort of modern, more digital viewing experience that we see come out.
yeah, for sure. It's clean. I know a lot of people they like the non-grainy look, like the clean look of these Ghostbusters movies, which I get it. You got your 4K display, you want to look as crispy as possible, and this is definitely a nice little crispy transfer that you guys put together here. And I would recommend this as well. It's a family fun movie. So if you got Kaleidoscape or whatever, you want to pick it up on disc or something streaming, then this is definitely a smart, enjoyable buy. I think if you like the last one or if you like any of them, it's right up there with the originals, the OG ones, and also the last one.
100%.
And it's only I think it was only like $25. Oh, it's $30 for that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so $30 for that one. And then the next one we have here, this didn't quite come out in May this month, but I did review it because fan favorite movie. Why not? This is, let me add to the screen, Arnold Schwarzenegger's True Lies.
Yeah, Mr. Cameron's great revisiting of his big hits. I love
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. I love the movie personally. It was one of my favorite movies, especially growing up for just surround sound, Dolby Digital in general. I've watched this movie so many times, just growing up, and it still holds up really well today. I remember first time seeing it, I was just like, "Oh man, this is cool." He's doing like James Bond, but then it's kind of like it's like a soap opera esque type of thing. I was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, this is totally not what I was expecting from James Cameron." And action holds up really well today. The fact that now we get the 4K version, you can really see his stunt double looks nothing like him. He's running down the mountainside. He's on the horse. I was like, that is not Arnold Schwarzenegger, man.
It's also interesting because it's just such a time. Schwarzenegger is such a looming figure. He sort of transforms any movie that he's in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love this film. I think this is him and Jamie Lee Curtis are so great together. This is this is based on an old French film that they did this. This is a remake of. But then when you remake a movie and you've replaced your French star that's playing a super spy with Arnold Schwarzenegger, wow! I mean, the action level of the movie sort of changes gears.
Yeah. But let's talk about the transfer really quick. The
Sure.
transfer. I know you guys have nothing to do with it. You're just kind of just putting it on your service. But come on, man! All the tinkering that he's been doing on his old releases, all the AI upscaling, all the noise reductions, just the. I mean, some of it does look good. Don't get me wrong. Some of it looks really good, and then other times it's just like one frame to another. It's like, wow, this looks like you shot it yesterday. Then the other one is like, I don't know when you shot this because you scrubbed away all the detail. They look like wax figurines. Like, what is the deal? How'd you feel about that?
It's another one of those movies. I'm so happy to get the large scale presentation of it. I think that it. I think you're right. I think there are some things that get scrubbed down, but this is sort of when I think about watching it on in 1080 on
Yeah.
large scale screens, and the way that can kind of get stretched out and not have the same sort of impact in the color grading and the detail line that comes through, and how this corrects all of that. It's a deal I'm willing to make. It's a trade off that I think. Do I wish that everything had that perfect sort of 8K style transfer that some things get? Yeah, but I am happy to have a version that I think plays better in bigger format as it comes out, which I think this does.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. There is a lot of shots in it that I was just like, oh wow, this like towards the start of the movie, I was like, oh shoot, Arnold looks great in this. I was like if you didn't know Arnold was near 80, you'd think this was pretty recent. And then I'm just like, I think the next scene where they're in the car or something like that, he's giving him back the ring. I was like, oh man, I was like, you're just really tinkering again. You're just making it look bad. It's just like, come on.
There's
But
too much interference for you. You feel like you can see the brush strokes, and you want to make sure you want to feel like you're seeing the painting hung on the wall perfectly. There we go. No. It's a garden scene. I don't need to know there was a painter behind this. I appreciate that. I think it's a good critique.
I'm gonna say for the most of the time, I did enjoy the transfer, and as a movie as a whole, it was still holds up really well, and the audio, and I like this new mix as well. I know there's some purists out there that are just like, give me the stereo version. I'm like, yo, what world are you living in, man? This the Atmos version blows it away.
Hey, there's a whole 2 channel community, and
Yeah,
I support their right to exist and to be supported in their movie going experience. It's not how I live, but I'm happy for them.
yeah. Um, But man, the Atmos mix is really good as well. Not that heavy on the mids and the bass, unfortunately. But I mean, there's a LFE level control you can adjust in your subwoofer, and really good Atmos height effects. I showed it on the Atmos viewer, so there's some pretty good scenes in this just from an audio standpoint, and I think that's where it kind of really elevated from kind of the older 5.1 channel mixes. Is this new Atmos mix really shined for me and made it kind of a new experience all over again.
Of his transfers, which one do you like best? That you compare this to the work, because I mean he did a bunch of work on all of his titles that he had sort of in the vault for a long time. So he came out and he did True Lies, he did The Abyss, he did Aliens at the same time. Is there one that you prefer to the others as you think about them?
Well, I didn't see all of them yet. I still have to do the Abyss. I didn't pick
Okay,
that one up yet. I hear that's like the best one though.
it's very good.
Yeah, you think it's better than True Lies?
I Yes, but I think that's also because True Lies is an it's a reconversion of something that's in sort of a flat action piece, and the Abyss is in this realm that really loves all of that work, that sort of dark
Yeah,
sci-fi offset world. Really, everything is going to really pop even harder when you actually get a good transfer that comes through.
yeah. I'm gonna have
I,
to check that out.
I haven't thought about the audio side by side. I'll be curious to see your review when that comes out.
Yeah, I still got to pick that up. I mean, but for me right now, I really like True Lies. I think this is the best I've seen so far. Better than T2, better than Aliens.
Okay,
I'm not sure if I saw Titanic yet. I don't remember if I saw Titanic.
Titanic's good.
Yeah, I still got to see that. I watched the 3D version recently. I know you guys don't do 3D, but I did watch the 3D version recently.
I know I
Um,
get. Shane, you've given me this reputation that I'm somebody who hates 3D. That's
I
not
still
the
get
case.
comments.
It's not the case. I don't hate anything. I want to support however everybody wants to watch their movies. I, I personally have not had the transformative experiences that I think some other people have had in their movie going, and I've watched a lot of it. But it hasn't had the same impact on me that it's had on some of the other folks in your audience.
Avatar 2 3D? No?
Oh yeah, no, I watched it in 3D. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Cameron is specifically better at understanding how to use the uh, the whole space subtly in order
Yeah.
to get the 3D experience out. Which is, um, when I make jokes about it, I make a lot of jokes about Drive Angry. I don't know if you've seen that, the Nick
Yeah, I love
Cage
that movie.
movie.
Good 3D, dude.
It's an absolute
Yeah.
delight. It's an
Yeah.
absolute delight, and everything is coming directly at the screen.
Yes.
The whole movie, everything is coming
Yeah.
directly at the screen, and it's sort of like, oh, okay, this pony, he's got a trick. There, we've discovered it.
But yeah, I still got to watch that and The Abyss. I've been putting it off because I wanted to do it this month, but there was just so many good new releases that came out this month that I have to put it off.
Really strong month, and I mean, this is coming on the heels of last month, Dune 2. It's the
Yeah.
demo of the year already for us. I mean,
Yep.
it's still a dominant force for us in terms of what people are picking up, and as people talk about what they're playing at home, we still are seeing extraordinary traffic on that movie.
Yeah. I can't believe you guys get those stats. That's a little crazy. Every time I press play, every time I watch it.
We're monitoring system health, buddy. That's all we're doing.
All right, so this one has been out for years now, but I got to bring it up because I just reviewed it recently, and there has been a re-release on the physical media front. This is Gravity, which
Beautiful.
you guys have had forever, which I picked up forever ago as well. But we did the review on this because the biggest deal with this release is that it is the Dolby Atmos version, which, if you are a physical media fan, there was a very short window where they had a Diamond Lux edition where it was like $30, but now it's something like $200-$300 because it's out of print. Whereas if you had a Kaleidoscape, you probably picked this up about a half decade ago. And
We
I
always
prefer,
had we always had the Atmos.
yeah,
We've had the Atmos from the jump. From as soon as they had that update come out, we got that in, and it's been how Kaleidoscape viewers have been watching Gravity since then.
yep. And still maybe one of the best, if not the best Atmos mix going out there. I mean, it's not like a huge bombastic mix at all. It's got, a lot of good subtlety in it, a lot of quieter cues. I like to use it when I'm checking for timbre matching, when I'm reviewing speakers, because you get a lot of the floating voices all around the first 15 minutes of the movie. It's great for that. There are some big high crescendos, high peaks where the bass hits and drives your subwoofers pretty hard. So it's got a really great dynamic mix and also incredibly active Atmos mix from the very start of the movie all the way till the end. I mean, this is kind of like a textbook Atmos mix, the best of the best right here.
Yeah, it's a real case study in audio design marrying together with what the audience wants in terms of that the people that are really invested in speaker placement really want to see come out of their movie. Like
Yeah.
it's part of the experience of the movie was being able to hear George Clooney pinging over here, and home base pinging over here, and giving you that sense of echo that's in the film as they're telling a story, and that's even before the explosions begin.
Yep. And that, like I said, man, that's been on your platform for several years now, and it's only $15, $14.99.
It's a bargain.
Crazy bargain. I mean, I've always had it on physical media, but I was like, you know what? I should probably just have it anyways on the Kaleidoscape. It's $15, so let me just pick it up anyways. So I did the review on that one. You guys check that out if you missed it. I think I did it like a few days ago. But let's talk about.
I'm gonna guess a lot of tens. A lot of tens came out of that review, Shane.
10, man. Come on.
10, 10, 10. 10 is a 3D, 10 is a movie, 10 is an audio mix.
The best way to watch Gravity clearly isn't 3D. I mean, it was meant to be seen in 3D. But you can't see it with 3D in Atmos unless you're a handy dandy guy, which luckily I am. So that's been my preferred way to watch it, is 3D with Atmos. But I guess the second best would be on the Kaleidoscape and Atmos. So,
We'll take it.
Have you used the 3D with that new screen, Shane?
Yeah, I've watched several movies in 3D.
How does it perform?
It's bright, it's crisp. Kind of like the best. I hate being like every time I get something new, it's the best. I don't always say that, but this
The new best.
It's the new best for now, right now.
You don't know what you don't know until the next best thing comes along, right?
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Glad to hear you're enjoying it.
Let's talk about this right here. I saw this at the theaters. I didn't review it because it's not the kind of movie I would watch multiple times over. But I'm sure you probably seen it, Luke. Have you seen it?
Of course.
Okay, so what's your take on it?
Well, it's a wonderful film. I mean, I love Alex Garland. It's not the movie that I thought it was going to be when I went in to go see it, and that was for the best. I thought he kind of created a story about this sort of dystopian near future where the world's in crisis, and these reporters going in order to kind of make something happen with a degree of immediacy that was palpable. And I thought that the he always makes movies that look and sound very good. That's just sort of part of his mo. You know, this is the same person that did uh, Ex Machina
Mm.
and um, uh,
Annihilation, right?
annihilate. That's the word. That's
Yeah.
the word that was floating in my head that I couldn't
Yeah.
pull down to reality. So yeah, no, I mean, I think it's going to be the kind of movie. I think it had It had sneaky great legs at the box office when it came through, and it's really performing for us as it's come into the home theater market. So we're really happy with this one. This is a pretty good film.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I saw it at the theaters, and listen, I did see it on digital streaming. I know it's
Nice.
not on the Kaleidoscape, but I did watch it on digital streaming, and not exactly my type of movie. Like I, just like you, I went into it thinking it was gonna be something different, and before I went to go see it, everybody was like, "Shane, go watch Civil War. It's got the best Atmos ever." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Okay, I guess I got to see it." So I saw it. I was like, man, I was like, okay, there's a couple good shootouts in it, but it wasn't like mind blowing. I was like, they're on a road trip most of the movie,
Yeah.
so I was expecting something totally different. I thought like America was in a civil war, kind of with guns and stuff. Like we're
Yeah.
having an
Yeah. Yeah.
actual civil war. So expectations were totally different, and guys that were just like, man, the Atmos is spectacular, Shane. Top 10 out of 10. This beats Dune 2. I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, okay, I
It's not
must see
beating.
it.
It's not beating Dune Two. It's not
Yeah,
beating Dune Two.
no.
Dune Two is a movie that's made with the Atmos soundtrack in mind in a very different manner.
Yeah.
This is a movie. It's a movie.
Yeah. It's a
It's a
movie.
very good movie. It sounds really good. It looks very good.
Yeah. Sorry guys sorry fans of Civil War. It's not an Atmos extravaganza. It's a decent movie though. I'll give it that. It was a good watch. I've seen it twice already, so I'm
Nice.
not sure I'd watch it again, but it's a good watch. Let's and then we've got a couple things here. I know Kellen wanted to bring up a couple titles. I didn't pick this up on Kaleidoscape because they sent me the 4K Blu-rays, so technically I kind of did review them. This is one of my favorite trilogies of all time.
Oceans.
This is the Oceans trilogy, 1 to 13. Well, 1 to 13. Oceans 11 to 13. So all three of
11,
them.
12, 11, 12, and 13. Get our math. Good, yeah. I love it. What'd you think? What'd you think of the new transfer?
I thought, not a huge departure from the Blu-ray, to be honest with you. The Blu-ray was still really good. This is maybe like another notch above it. The HDR really pops in this. I mean, kind of overblown here and there, but I think that's kind of the visual look he was going for. It's grainy. It's got a lot of grain in it for the guys that don't like grain, but I feel like that gives it a specific feel for sure. And I think it gets a little better as you go up in the titles 12 and 13. And they all have the same visual aesthetic as well. The music still rocks. I love the David Holmes soundtrack. Still one of my
Yeah.
favorites. If you saw the Wolves trailer that came out yesterday with Clooney and Pitt, I believe he did the soundtrack for that as well. That felt very much like an Ocean's movie. And I'm happy to see these two guys back at it again. And these are classic movies, man. I watch this movie all the time, Ocean's 11, because it just feels like you're hanging out with some buds and you're gonna rob a bank. I feel like the camaraderie in this movie is great. The audio is, I believe, is still 5.1. It didn't get an Atmos mix,
It did
but
not.
there's nothing really crazy going on in it. I think the best part, of course, is still going to be just the soundtrack, and sounds just as good as it did on Blu-ray.
It's a dialogue and soundtrack movie. So when you have a
Yeah,
movie like that, the idea like it's a bell and whistle too far. Like it's great if it's an Atmos, but it's not really giving you anything. Like
Yeah.
hearing the handful of breakouts, I think more people are focused on hearing the cool jazz score in the background
Yep.
than they are at hearing the explosions as they break out of the vault. That's the energy that movie carries.
Yeah, super fun movie. Still one of my favorite movies of all time. I think obviously I think 11 is better than 12 and 13. I think they started going a little crazy in 12 and 13, but 11 is the most grounded, and I think the best one. And definitely worth a pickup on the Kaleidoscape if you have one, for sure.
100%.
I believe there's another movie Kellen wanted to bring up here. Memorial. Was it Flags of Our Fathers?
Flags of Our Fathers. Yep. And then the Talking Heads stopped making sense.
Oh, is this is the Clint Eastwood, is this the Clint Eastwood movie?
It is.
I haven't seen this in forever. This is 4K? No, it's HD.
HD. It's the complement piece with Sands of Iwo Jima. Or
Oh,
no,
so
not Sands of Iwo Jima. How have I lost my mind as I said that? With Letters to Iwo Jima, which he did 2 experiential films on the war, one from an American perspective and one from a Japanese perspective.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I haven't seen this movie since it like came out, so I didn't even know you guys had this. Was this like a new release in May? No.
Mm-mm.
Kellen, what are you doing, man? These
It's
are May releases, buddy.
Well, he's giving us an opportunity to say, hey, past Monday was Memorial Day. These are the kind of films that you should throw into your vault because you're getting
For
a
next
day
year.
off. Take a moment to remember the people who sacrificed themselves for our country. Both these movies are very empathic portraits of really interesting parts of those individual histories.
There you go. I didn't even know it was Memorial Day.
Shane. How about the Talking Heads? That's one of my favorite bands. Kellen was showing me that when I was down in Nashville. Pretty cool you guys have that concert remaster.
Yeah, this is really wonderful. Is A24 got their hands on this guy, so they went and they did a full court press. They worked with Byrne. They got a remastering of this incredible John Demme movie put together. They did a theatrical re-release in order to put that guy out into the world, and then they've now made it available to everybody on digital. And it's A24. They love to do eventizing. They did a whole bunch of current contemporary artists that they have covering some of the Talking Heads big hits that they've done as sort of an accompanying piece of collateral that's going out. But this film is, it's one of the great concert movies of all time. Really a visionary director and an artist that knew exactly what he wanted to do, putting a really great movie experience together. Not just a concert, but really a concert as a movie experience. That's great. This Last Waltz. There's only a couple of movies that really stand out as concert films that sort of are the top of the mountain for what you're going to go in and see for an experience there.
All right, so this is a new release then, or?
This is a movie. It had been out in HD when it was under a different licensor. And now they've just recently, I think it's just in April, that they finally have this re-released out into EST, digital release.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Did not know that. So that's another. So definitely worth a pickup. You would say?
Oh, 100%. I think this is definitely worth a pickup. I will say it is as a study piece for film. It's there. But, if you are on the fence, park yourself in front of your YouTube and listen to some Talking Heads before you do it. Because if you do not like the Talking Heads music, then buying 2 hours of the Talking Heads music, it's not the best solution for you. And I would discourage you from, biting the stove in that particular fashion.
All right, so let's talk about a couple movies that may not be getting physical releases for you physical media fans out there. Starting off with this guy here. I have not reviewed it. I did watch it, though. I do plan on reviewing it. This is Poor Things. in 4K and in Atmos. I believe you can only watch this on digital streaming, and the best version would be on the Cloudescape. It is almost 84 gigs, so it's a very big file. It's a very different type of movie. It's a very stylistic movie. I don't know if you saw it or not, Luke, but
I am more surprised by the fame of Yorgos Lanthimos than maybe anything else that's happened in the last couple of years. This is a true art house visionary director,
Yeah.
and he made The Favorite a couple of years ago with Emma Stone and with Rachel Weisz and my favorite actor in the world. I can't remember her name right now, and you know, it was a real breakthrough moment, and ever since then, you know, his movies are getting attention. They are wonderful, strange movies. And so every time that you know, one of the people in my family is like, Emma Stone just won for this movie. Am I going to like it? I have to gauge a couple of things immediately. One, do they have any tolerance for the amount of strangeness that's going on in a great movie? If they don't, then I redirect them to something that I think I'll tell them to go watch Easy A. And the other thing is for this movie, you know, this movie makes some very pointed decisions as it's talking about this, you know, young developing person's life, and they choose to get involved in their own sexuality. There's more sex and nudity in this movie, I think, than some people are initially prepared for. So I always make sure I ring the warning bell. That said, she's really great in it. Mark Ruffalo's really great in it, and it's got this really wonderful sort of odd, you know, turn of the century, but in a near future set design that he's put together for
yeah.
how it looks visually. It's really it's really a stunner to see. So it is a great film.
Yeah, it's very art house esque. He's definitely got his own kind of vision to it. I would say like set design, like you were talking about, kind of Burton esque, kind of a whimsical type of feel to it for sure. I mean, it was shot on film, so it's got a very heavy grainy look to it. So if the grain haters out there, and they're not going to like the way this looks at all. Very stylistic. The Atmos is actually pretty. I wouldn't say like extravagant or anything like that, but it's better than I thought it was going to be. The Atmos, the soundtrack was pretty. It was really good as well, and it is a weird movie for sure. Yeah, I got some of the comments and that I put up a community post on it saying that, listen, it's on the Kaleidoscape. You can only get it on the Kaleidoscape, not on disc. And there were some comments that were just like, it's weird because they're having sex with like a child, like a baby. I was like, you do know she ages in the movie. I was like,
Yeah. She's not. Yeah, this movie is more like it's like the mystery of Casper Hauser. You know, it's this childlike at the beginning, but then
yeah,
a full adult that's kind of coming into their own understanding of the world without some of the societal prejudices that you had already had. And
yep,
so they have a different perspective on how everything in life should work. That's a little bit simplistic, but it re-engages how they kind of like to think of things happening in the world.
yeah. I'd say it's worth a watch. It's it's an Oscar-winning movie. I mean, Emma Stone won it. Her performance is great in it. So is Ruffalo's performance is really good in it as well. Willem Dafoe kills it as kind of a Frankenstein character, or Dr.
Always
Frankenstein character. Yeah, he always rocks it. And listen, if you like these little smaller movies, you're really going to enjoy this, I think. If not, then might be put off by it. And then let's get into one more that I don't think is going to get a physical release, or if it is, it's going to be possibly later on. I reviewed it yesterday, or actually put up the review this morning. This is Abigail on 4K. This comes in at 60 gigs on the 4K HDR version. This is a fun movie. I didn't know what to expect on this one. Well, I kind of had an idea. There's a vampire in it. It was funnier than I thought it was going to be. It's not like a gore fest or anything like that. It's kind of like Megan-esque, but with a vampire. Fun movie. Like I said, I saw it 3 times already. It's got really good Atmos in it. It's usually horror movies typically have great Atmos in it because you can just amp up the creepy factor and the subtle effects everywhere. And this one delivers with the Atmos. And the visuals, super dark movie as you would expect as well. I mean, it's a lot of blacks, some nice warm tones, cool tones here and there, but mostly blacks and grays. So not going to be an HDR showcase or anything like that, like extravagant for your displays, but still plenty of detail, man. Fun movie. I don't know if I kind of think I want to see part 2, see where Abigail newest adventure goes. Like it's a fun movie. I didn't think it was gonna be that good.
Yeah, this is the great thing. I mean, I actually had one of my coworkers who does a lot of the reviewing for us was belly aching because they're like, "Why is there so much horror? There's so much horror right now." And the thing about horror is that it's less expensive to make,
Yeah.
and they can still make some delightful stuff when they put their eggs in it. And I think that that's exactly what they've done on Abigail. It's another one of these. It's from Radio Silence, which is like Blumhouse, one of these horror companies that's trying to really put some good talent together with some talented young filmmakers, and they make movies that are very intentionally entertaining, funnier than you think that they might be. They had also done the VHS movies. I think the Radio Silence was one of the folks originally behind Ready or Not, which I don't know if you saw. That's like a, the story of a girl who goes for her engagement dinner and ends up becoming the prey to her crazy family. Just delightful, fun.
Ready or Not, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like delightful, fun, punchy sort of horror films they come out. Really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, really good movie. It's only $25 on the Kaleidoscape. If you have a Kaleidoscape, definitely pick it up. I think you're gonna have a good time with this. And it's a little bit gory for sure, but if you're a little squeamish, I don't think it's that bad. Like it's not like an Evil Dead type of movie. It's definitely funner. It's like dark humor, basically. That's what it is.
Dark humor, yeah.
Yeah. So that, I think, wraps it up for our monthly roundup. Well, Luke, I'm sure you've seen more than I have. Is there anything that you saw that you think is worthwhile?
Well, I'll put a couple other shout outs there. I mean, one of our other bestsellers that's come out in this past month, a very punchy, comedic, World War II piece in the Guy Ritchie vein, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, came out. It's been a big hit for us as it's come in. And then we've also had, a few of these really, really entertaining hyper action movies that have dropped recently. Dev Patel's Monkey Man, which came out from NBCU, really a great, Saturday afternoon big action set piece film. Muddy and dark, but brutalist, but very entertaining, very thrilling as a movie. And then what just came out that's even, I think, slightly more comedic in its presentation that just came out this week is with Skarsgård, Boy Kills World.
Yes, I watched that. I watched that the other day, actually.
Yeah, so these are, and they're, these films are, they're not the same, but they're similar. They're those sort of, we think of it, I always think of it as like in the vein of Indonesian action, like The Raid. But, I think a lot of other people, their first exposure to it was in John Wick. So that John Wick up close, fast hyper-violence type style movies that usually have a revenge plot as part of the core. Really entertaining, really eat all of your popcorn type movies.
Yeah, so I watched Monkey Man at the theaters when it first came out. And yeah, the action is pretty good in it, although not quite what the trailers would have you believe. It's not quite the John Wick-esque, message that they were trying to send in the trailers. So I was a little off put by that. It was just a long movie too. It's a really long movie. So I was expecting wall-to-wall action. But it was shot beautifully, though, for sure. I mean, good first outing for Dev Patel. And did I watch it at home? I don't think I saw it at home. I think I just saw it at the theaters. I can't really speak on the Atmos because I didn't watch it at the house. However, I did watch Boy Kills World 2 days ago, and I wanted to pick it up on Kaleidoscape, but I didn't. I watched my buddy's streaming account because there was no HDR, no Atmos, so I wasn't gonna do a review on it without HDR and Atmos.
Sure.
However, this is a super fun movie, very fun movie. This is what Monkey Man's trailer would have you believe. This is that movie. This is Boy Kills World. This is just bananas action. It's kind of like John Wick amped up to 20. This gave me like Crank vibes with its kinetic action is very frantic, and what's his name, Bill Skarsgård got jacked for this movie. He's just ripped, and so I can definitely see him as the Crow. And hopefully we get a part two of Boy Kills World, because I had a really good time with this movie for sure. And visually, this, if this was an HDR, I mean, it still looked great in SDR. I mean, the colors are vibrant. This definitely would be a prime candidate for HDR. I'm not sure why it's not. Lots of reds, primary colors, yellows, greens. I mean, just everything just really pops in this movie. I thought it was a great presentation. Just a fun movie too.
Yeah. So those are the ones. Those are the ones I would call out. I think we're in the home theater crowd. There's other movies that I've really enjoyed that have come out during the course of the end of this year. I liked Wicked Little Letters, which is just a little Sony Pictures Classics movie. It's about this prudish woman who lives next door to this wild Irish lady, and somebody starts sending her foul letters. It's a very in my vein style film. And yeah, I mean, I liked a lot of the other movies, but none of the other ones kind of jump out at me for shouting out.
Wicked Little Letters. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley, who were in that Lost Daughter, very sad movie that they had over on Netflix. This is a joyful little romp, filthy 1920s rompy film.
Interesting. Okay. So when you're putting these movies together on the Kaleidoscape, like how do you do it? Do you sit there and watch them all, or do you skim through it, or like what is your actual main function?
So I'm in charge of the team. So I do secondary reviews once everything's done. Most of my movie watching doesn't have anything to do with store qualification. I just like to watch everything because
Right.
I have a strong appetite for the cinema and for television and for all those things, making sure I know what's going on there. My
Yeah.
team, Gerald and Tiffany and Josh and Jeremy, they actually will sit down and be in front of the whole film, scanning for subtitle alignment, looking to see if they see any issues that are actually coming up, making sure there's no audio track issues that they're seeing that are observable. Calling into the studios if they have a file update or request that they want to make, and
Right.
they go through it. They go through it in full at least once, and then do spot reviews in order to get the areas that might need readdressing cleaned up. So it's multiple views of every film before it actually gets onto the store.
So what do you mean if they notice a problem, they call into the studios? Like maybe the color's off or something like that? Could you send me a fixed file?
Well, I mean, we're not color gradists, so I can't tell you if
Yeah.
something's there. But if there's something that's come up and there's an improbable color shift that we see that takes place, I
Yeah.
mean, the first thing we'll suspect is our transcode process. So we'll make sure there's not something that happened during our processing that actually introduced an issue. But it's possible there's some issue in the source. It's possible there's something that accidentally went out that's got a shift that they didn't intend, and so we've got to write our email, create our file failure escalation, and say, "Hey, we need a new print of this guy. This is not going to work. We're not going to put it up if it looks like this."
So is there a possibility that your version would look better than what would be on a stream or a physical media disc because you spotted a potential problem?
I mean, what a wonderful question that I can't answer that for them because I don't know what their finalizing process looks like. So I don't know if they are happy to send stuff out and get it live. I know the advantage that streamers have is that they can just update it in the background. It's like nothing was ever wrong,
Yeah.
right? we download a whole version of the movie that's going to kind of live on your system until you are ready to watch it. So we need to make sure it's clean before we can set it out of the gate.
Got you. Okay. All right, Luke, Zach. Well, this is going to end our monthly recap. Question is for you guys. What are your top picks for the month of May? What are you guys going to pick up? Did you pick it up on Kaleidoscape? Are you waiting to hold out to pick it up on disc? Leave your thoughts down below and let us know. Make sure you come back next month where we're going to go over, hopefully, Mad Max Furiosa, which is one of my top movies for this year. That movie just rocked. I saw that 2 times already. It's so good at the theaters. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Wonderful cast, wonderful. George Miller does it again. Truly great.
Yeah, he rocks it. Too bad it bombed at the box office.
It did not do as much traffic. Again, a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks have some strong opinions about what might have gone sideways on that one.
Yeah. Not for not being good, because it's a great movie, just as good as Fury Road, I think.
Better in some ways, I would argue.
Oh yeah, for sure. It fleshes out a lot. It expands the world of the Wasteland, essentially. Yeah. But yeah, if you guys want to pick up a Kaleidoscape or anything home theater related, talk to Zach. Get in touch with me. If you want to get that Kaleidoscape, shoot me an email. Shoot Zach an email. Let us know, and you guys can be part of the 1 month earlier club of watching your movies before the disc guys. Thanks, Luke, for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Thank you guys for joining.